So far, there's, earlier in the debate, 57 sections of law that we're amending, right? Plus various chapter amendments,
Yes.
right? So we've got some issues with this bill already, which I think speaks to why we don't rush things, or why we should not rush things. Would you agree with that or not agree? I mean, do you think this law, as it's written right now, is complete?
I agree that in a perfect world, we should have extended hearings, and we should try to have as perfect a piece of legislation as can be had on the books. I also believe that when we have a pileup of events, like what happened in Wisconsin and Aurora, and then it strikes close to home in Newtown, Connecticut, that this cries out for action. And if the federal government is not going to do it, as I said before, then the state of New York has to once again, like it has in the past, lead the way.
So, but there's no indication that the federal government is not going to take action. They, in fact, are on the verge of taking action shortly. Was this not just a rush to get something done so that we could have bragging rights across the state? Because clearly there's a lot of problems with this bill that could have been taken care of before printing this a couple of hundred times, rolling it out to the population of New York under cover of darkness without the details being hashed out. This is like half cooking the meal, and then everybody gets food poisoning from it because it's not done correctly. There's a lot that could have been done.
The governor is trying to save lives, and I have to commend him for that.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about saving lives. As my colleague pointed out, 769 homicides, which have been dropping year after year after year. Now, I know next year when they drop again, people will talk about how this ban did it. It won't have anything to do with it, hardly, because only 5 were caused by long guns. Long guns, not assault rifles. May have been 5 at maximum, might have been 2, might have been 1, might have been none, we don't know, but it was 5. So if this is about saving lives, why aren't you going after handguns, which are by and large overwhelmingly the problem and overwhelmingly the weapon of choice among gang members? Why not? And doesn't that sort of lack a little bit of integrity to go after point? Hold on.
We are going after handguns. We are going after handguns. We've done that before, and we're doing it again in this bill.
What handgun?
We've made it a C-violent felony to have a handgun in the state of New York.
Illegally.
Illegally.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you're talking about?
So you think that the criminals are going to pay attention to that because now it's a Class C felony?
Well, what do you want to do? You want to make it...
I'm simply saying that you're making the point that you want to save lives, and if you were truly interested in doing that, you'd be having an argument about banning all weapons, number one, which I don't agree with, but you'd be having that argument because that would, that would be an actually valid argument to have, that we should ban all weapons. It'd be a complete violation of the Second Amendment, but apparently that's trivial anymore. But what I'm saying here is it lacks a little bit, or it smacks a little bit of grandstanding to say that we're going to go after these assault weapons, which cause statistically across the nation, and it's the same holds true in New York, assault weapons are used in 1/5, 0.2% of all violent crime, and in about 1% of gun crimes. 1 to 7% of all homicides in the U.S. are caused by assault weapons. So don't kid yourself that we're going after the real issue here, because we're not.
There's nobody grandstanding here, especially not the governor. I agree with you. I'm in favor of the Second Amendment. I'm going to surprise you. I'm in favor of the Second Amendment. I believe that in the Constitution, I also believe in the preamble that I won't read. But more importantly, we have to remember the Constitution was amended back when they used muskets. Okay? With one shot being able to be fired by a musket, and then you had to reload.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I absolutely do. You know why?
Remember that?
Because that was the state-of-the-art weapon of the day, Joe.
That's right. Our Constitution has to expand.
Gotcha.
As the times call for it.
So the Constitution was also written and distributed on a printing press. So are we saying we should limit the freedom of speech because, the internet and text messaging and everything else? That's just not what they intended.
The Supreme Court of the United States renders decisions every day that interprets the Constitution and expands its applicability to today's time.
Oh, you're right. And they've ruled 3 times now. that the right of the people to defend themselves cannot be infringed, which I believe is exactly what we're doing. I believe this is just
And
an
that's not in the
arbitrary.
constitutional amendment in the Second Amendment.
Why did we not come up with a 5-round limit or a 2 or a 1? Why 7? What's the magic number there at 7?
The governor proposed 7. We thought it was reasonable, and so did the Senate.
I'll be back.